One of the most common questions I hear from family is, when should we institutionalize our family office? And what I often see is that families tend to do this either too early or too late. Both come with real costs. Let's set the stage first. Institutionalizing a family office sounds like a natural step as wealth grows. More structure, more process, more professionalism. All of this makes sense, but institutionalization is not a milestone, it is a decision. And if it is not timed and staged correctly, it can either create unnecessary complexity or leave the family exposed to avoidable risk. What does institutionalization actually mean? Let's spend some time to define that first. It is not just about setting up an office. Instead, it is about formal governance structures, defined decision making frameworks, dedicated resources and teams, more formal processes around investments, reporting, and risk management. In other words, you are building an operating systems, not just adding structure. Now, the first mistake some families make is institutionalizing too early. This often happens when families try to replicate institutional models too soon, especially after a major liquidity event. They build infrastructure before complexity requires it. And that comes with certain risks, such as unnecessary overhead, slower decision making, reduced flexibility. So instead of enabling growth, the structure becomes a constraint. Now, on the flip side, institutionalizing too late is also not optimal and comes with certain risks. This is more common than most people realize, and it happens when complexity has already increased, capital is spread across multiple investments, and more stakeholders are involved. But governance and structure have not quite caught up to that complexity. So the risk in that situation is inconsistent decision making, lack of accountability, increased exposure to operational and investment risk. And at this stage, families are reacting instead of leading. So, how to think about the timing and choosing the right structure is the next natural question that I would ask. Instead of focusing on size alone, focus on complexity and ask how many decision makers are involved. How diverse are our investments? How frequently are decisions being made? And how are they evaluated? Are roles and responsibilities clear? Institutionalization should follow complexity and not just capital. A simple way to think about it is this: your structure should feel slightly ahead of your current needs. Not so far ahead that it creates a drag or freezes decisions, but also not so far behind that it creates risks, some of which I outlined earlier in the video. This is one of the most nuanced decisions family face and a very common one. There's no single threshold, there's no formula for it, unfortunately, but there is a right fit based on where you're at today and where you're going. If you're thinking through whether your current structure is supporting or slowing you down, I'm always happy to continue the conversation or be a second set of eyes.